Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Sorry it's been a little while. I've been pretty sporadic. Not really sporadic, just kind of been absent. Uh, and like I said on my previous video, it's just been busy with family and with work and the pandemic and everything. So I've been reading a lot. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to actually film any videos. I don't know if any of you probably noticed from my first few videos, I have rearranged my bedroom slash office and kind of created a new living type entertainment area and put up all my books behind me. I'm still working on organizing those a little bit better and everything, so hopefully this looks a lot nicer and a little less cramped than my previous setting. So yeah, I'm going to try and start doing this a little bit more often. So I apologize if any of you have actually been watching out there and wanted to see more and just haven't been seeing more. So here it is. I'm going to try to do more. Been reading a lot lately, but the one I just finished actually last night was Katharyn Blair's Unchosen. It just came out. And just a little synopsis about it is basically about a pirate curse that turns people into bloodthirsty zombies, but not right away. And it's just about this girl who is a sister of the chosen one, and she gets kind of wrapped up in this mess that she says she's the chosen one, and is whisked off on a journey, basically to protect her sister. So it was a very interesting concept. I liked it. That's basically what got me curious, and so that's why I bought it, and I just read it. It was good. I'll just say that right up front. It was a very good book. If I was gonna label it with stars, which I already did on Goodreads, I give it a 4, and I'll discuss why I didn't give it a 5. But it was a very enjoyable read. It's one of those I classify reads in a lot of different ways, and some of the ways I do it is this was a very fast-paced book. It starts and it goes and it doesn't stop. There's very little fluff in it when in concern to the actual plot, and it is fast. So it's kind of one of those books that when you start reading it, you can just keep going and finish it. Now, I couldn't just sit and read it all in one sitting. I'm not much of a person to do that most of the time. And plus, when you have kids talking in your ear all the time, it's kind of hard to just stop to keep reading and not have to take care of them. So, priorities, right? So it's just one of those books that you could just easily roll to the next chapter, roll to the next chapter, roll to the next chapter, and until suddenly you're done. And those reads are terrific and they're wonderful. I love those reads. There are different kinds of books, I think. There are the books that are very slow paced, heavier, take you longer to read. And now this is me talking, not criticizing anybody else who says, well, they can read a Robert Jordan book in a day. I mean, that's amazing. Good for you. Yay. I can't do that. But it's still, like, as Robert Jordan as an example, heavy, very thick, very dense, lots of great character, lots of great action, lots of great world building and everything. It's just kind of a slow chugging burn. Then there are those that are a little bit faster paced. I feel like Stephen King is one of those people who he can still have the very heavy, very, very just intimate feeling to the books, but they're a little bit more fast paced. I don't feel like his books slug along, at least not the majority of them that I have read anyway. So they're fairly fast paced, but they're still heavier reads. And then you have some on the other kind of spectrum. You have the lighter reads, the reads that like Unchosen here, that it's just like, man, chugs, boom, it is like a bullet train. It goes fast, you're in it, and you're loving it, and you're with the characters, and then you're done. You're like, wow, that ride was fun, almost like a roller coaster, and you might even say, hey, I kind of want to get back on that ride again, and see if I missed anything. Did I miss a turn? Did I miss a dip? Did I miss a dive? Did I miss a rise? What did I miss? Because it moved so fast, but it was a satisfying ride. And then there are some that are a little bit behind that are still pretty fast-paced, but can be kind of heavier and weightier and take you a little bit longer to process things. One of the books I'm reading, in the middle of reading right now, is The Never-Ending Story, and that's one of those books. It's still a young adult book, fantasy book, but it's kind of a slower slog for me. But that's a discussion for another day. So that's what this Unchosen was here, by Katharyn Blair. It was a thrill ride. It was fun. It went fast. It went pretty furious. The concept was interesting. It's, a pirate curse, and the zombies are not exactly zombies. They don't infect people by biting. They basically infect people by looking at them. So if you look at them in the eye, you become infected, and eventually change into this mindless eating thing that eats human flesh. So it starts off with that. It starts off with this pirate curse that happens, and you get swept along the journey with it. So it was a fun concept. It was kind of a twist on the Chosen One idea, a twist on zombies, and throwing in some pirate curses there instead of, just some of the tropes that we've had for a long time. Zombies, why? The virus zombies, they came from a virus, blah, blah, blah. This is not that kind of thing. Now, discussing, I would say I give it 4 stars. Ultimately, I give it basically what I'm going to start calling smiley face or sad face. Don't ask me about where I got this. I give this book a smiley face. It was fun. I had a great time with it. I don't regret it at all. And I even might one day go back and read it again. I'm not too much on rereading books just because there's so much out there to read. But it's one of those I'm like, yeah, I would totally mark that as a reread. However, there were some flaws with it, and I'll discuss those a little bit. They're nothing major, actually. There's nothing really majorly wrong with this book. The biggest flaw, I would say, is that the first chapter is meaningless. You could skip it. And that what the first chapter feels like is that the first chapter feels like the author's query letter to the editor or the publisher, instead of actually part of the story. I almost got turned off because of that first chapter. I read it. I'm like, this seems really flowery and just like a hook to get me into the book instead of just telling me the story, which could be a good thing when you're trying to hook an editor on the concept, on the idea, to get them intrigued, to continue reading. But as an actual reader, it kind of deterred me. I was like, what am I reading here? So you could skip the first chapter in this book. It's short. You won't miss anything. It won't affect the read in any way. It'd probably make it better. The next thing I would say is that the book suffers a little bit from its fast pace. It's very quick. Everything, it happens right after. There's no fluff, I feel, in this book. If it was trimmed, it was trimmed to the bone, to get out just everything. Once one thing happens, the next chapter something else happens. It's just one after the other. You're going fast, and that's great because again, it keeps you interested in the read, and you're flowing through it. The characters are interesting enough. They're fleshed out enough. They're not super in depth, but there's enough there that it keeps you going. However, because it's this ball that gets rolling super fast down the hill, unfortunately, when you get to the end, I feel like it went so fast that it just blasted through the ending. Like it just flew through it and it was done. Instead of, you've built this up, you've gone so fast through the journey and so fast through the book, why didn't you stop? Slow down just a little bit in those last few chapters. And I'm not talking a lot. I'm talking like adding 20 pages to the book, maybe, of just stretch it out just a little bit more to get me to feel that tension that you want, that we've essentially built up to in this read. But now that we're at the end, you want to slow down just a little bit. You don't want to drag it out too long, but you want to slow down just a little bit to be like, okay, now I'm building the tension. I'm feeling for these characters. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Instead, it just barreled through. It barreled through in the last 2 to 3 chapters. She threw in a couple of details, and then it was over. And I was like, it was a good ending. It's the way it's supposed to end for a story. It just went so fast that it wasn't as impactful as it should have been and could have been. She could have just stretched it out a little bit more. Sometimes I think authors suffer. It's a hard thing when you're writing a book, right? Because sometimes you wonder, am I writing too much or am I not writing enough? And there's a compromise in there somewhere. Sometimes authors stretch things out too much and they just go for too long. And it becomes this slog. It becomes this chore of like, okay, get to it. I just want to get to it. And then when you finally do get to the ending, even if it's a good ending, you're like, oh, finally. Instead of like that was a satisfying ending, it's more like, finally, I can put it down. And sometimes and the other side of the spectrum is, wait, it's over? Like, no, don't be over yet. Like, more. Like, what more? So that's what I felt at this end of this. I'm like, what? Just, it's over? Man, give me 2 or 3 more chapters here. Of stretch it out just a little bit more. Give me more detail because it just rushed. I don't know if that's the author's fault. I don't know if that's the editor's fault. Again, it's not a bad thing because the ending was good. It was just rushed. And then the other small thing I would say that the book suffered from was the author's prose were very good. She does a really good job of painting the pictures and everything, but sometimes they were a little bit too flowery, a little bit too purple prosy for me, to the point where it was kind of like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand. That didn't make any sense to me, or just that was unnecessary. Just a little bit here and there. It wasn't major. And again, like I said, I talked about it that the ending needs to be stretched a little bit longer. I feel like she could have explained a couple more things in the book about the world that these people were living in, because it's talking about at the very beginning of this famous pirate who the curse comes from, essentially, back in the day, that I just would have liked to learn a little bit more about them, But we just kind of get a very quick overview in the beginning about this pirate curse legend, and then suddenly we're thrown into the world. So that's really the only downside to the book, is I wish there were more. And I think that's a good sign sometimes of a novel, of a reader thinking about the book and the author, is that I wanted more. You didn't disappoint with what you gave me. I just wanted more. And I think that's a good problem to have for an author. Now, this is supposed to be a standalone novel, instead of a duology or a trilogy or whatever, because that's kind of the trend lately, right? The YAs are coming out with, instead of just standalone novels, they're series, or if they should be standalone novels, they're stretching them into 2, 3, 4 books. So I think this is one of those that I almost might say you could have made it a duology. You could have made it 2 books expanded the world just a little bit, expanded the characters just a little bit, and the legend just a little bit, and it would have been good. However, you could have just done it. She could have just done it in this one book too, made it a little bit longer. This is just a tiny bit over 400 pages. Ultimately, it's 405 pages. So she could have easily made it, I think, 420 pages. And that's all she would need to do is add just a little bit more depth, a little bit more explanation, and stretched out the ending just a little bit more. And I would have given this 5 stars. Easy. I give it 4 stars just for those few little nitpicks, quite honestly. I mean, they're me being like a snobby book reader or whatever. But ultimately, it gets a smile face for it. So if you're interested in pirates, if you're interested in kind of a different zombie type apocalypse, if you're interested in the angsty YA love triangle, square, whatever, going on, and you're interested in that, dystopian post-apocalyptic world that people live in and curses, then this is definitely for you. I mean, if you liked Hunger Games, you'll like this. There's a lot of other books if you like if you like Dread Nation, which is one I'll be reviewing shortly sometime, you'll like this book. Howl's Moving Castle, you'd probably like that too. I have a bunch of books behind me that I'm just trying to think about what I've read and what I haven't read. So yeah, check out Katharyn Blair's Unchosen. I think it's a great book. I think it's only her second officially published novel, but I haven't done the research. That's just all I saw. She has another book out before this one that I think I'm going to check out eventually. And yeah, we'll see if that one's any good too. And if it is, I'll let you guys know. So I'm hoping to try and do this a little bit more. Sorry for the delays, but I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all the fun social media stuff that everybody tells you to do, that I've probably heard a million times and half ignored and half done. And so I'm encouraging you to do that for me too. I'll be trying to do, again, like I said, I'll be trying to do some more of these as time permits. I've read a lot, so I have a lot of, and maybe I'll do a video on kind of what I've read, what I'm reading, and what I plan to review here eventually. And yeah, just thanks for the time. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.